In this video, I'm going to talk about CELPIP task response for writing and speaking. This is worth anywhere from 2 to 3 points. If you make a major mistake, it could make you lose 4 points as well. So it's very important to discuss. Let's look at an example. Okay, let's talk about writing. And if we have a task to question, the question says, you have a group of teenagers and you're deciding whether to take them to a library visit or a concert visit. Let's say I choose a library here. The mistake people make in task response is they either make it too general or they make it too specific. For example, if I chose library, I might say library would be good for them because it really helps them improve themselves. This statement is too general, and unfortunately I see this a lot. Now, if you're too specific, you'd say, if you go to the library, they would read the Tom Sawyer book and it would have all the history about Tom Sawyer and his events, which will tell them a lot about history. This is too specific. You're taking a real name and you are basically giving almost like a research article there. Another example of that would be, according to the University of California, among a survey with students, it was noted that students who go to the libraries more often increase their IQ by 20%. When you do these things, the examiner says, this is just you quoting an article. It is not coming from your own thinking. The other problem with this is it does not use any complex wordings. It does not give in-depth explanation. And this is where in task response, you want to understand the concept of why. You want to ask yourself why every time you explain something. So if you say that this is scientifically better, explain the scientific process. If you say it's going to help the economy, explain how. In this case, with the library, if I say it's going to increase or improve child's intelligence, I'm going to say it'll do that because in the library they would read books which include a lot of vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structures, which is great for their English development. On top of that, libraries include detailed articles about history, as well as scientific journals. Based on the interest of the kid, they could pick a relevant subject and dive deep into its elements, making it understandable for them and even making a future career with that field. This is the why. So here is where I explained why this library thing is going to be beneficial. So if you have been following our templates, you know that in task 2, writing task 2, you have to have 2 points in body 1, 2 points in body 2. The 2 points in body 1 are going to support your idea, and the 2 points in body 2 are going to oppose the other idea. Even in opposing, you have to say why. You have to ask yourself why. For example, this was library versus the concert, right? So in body 2, when you talk about the concert, you're going to say why it's a bad thing, because that is not your opinion. So you'd say, well, we should not go to the concert because 2 points. Let's say the 1 point is it gets students distracted. Now ask yourself, why does it do that? Well, it gets them distracted because it is escape from their important years of study and education where their considerable hours should be spent. However, the concert takes away that valuable time from them or deviates them from the school learning time. You can say any one of those. This is why it's bad. Another reason why it could be bad is because they show a lot of vulgarity. Now, I sound like an old person here, but that would be the other reason if I'm choosing that option. And I'm going to say, well, it's because furthermore, it includes a lot of vulgarity, for example, obscene language. And look at how I'm saying, for example, because I'm trying to explain to you why it's bad. Vulgar language, obscene language, as well as inappropriate costumes or dresses that performers wear, which is not suitable for young children. Okay, so that's your why. Now let me tell you a why in a scenario which people 80% of the times ignore. This would be task 1, email writing. And a very common question is, you're moving apartments, tell your landlord that you cannot move this on this date, you're going to move on another date. So this is the bullet point. Students would say in that paragraph simply, I cannot move on the 24th, so I'm going to be moving on the 25th instead. Why? The examiner has not given you this question just so you can make simple sentences. You have to explain why. When you go deep in why, your sentences become long, and that's where you get all the other marks for your range of vocabulary, complex sentences, again, task response, and structure, flow, so many marks with that. So go in detail. I cannot move in on the 24th because my boss announced an urgent assignment that we have to complete by that time. Hence, I'll be working that day. However, 25th would be suitable, considering, give a reason for this as well, as long as you have enough words. However, the 25th sounds perfect as long as it works for you. Since it's a Sunday, I'm hoping you're available then to receive me. So there's a reason for this, okay? You always have to give reasoning. The same thing applies for speaking. A major mistake in task 1 speaking is when you're giving suggestions to your friend or family, right? And you just give a suggestion without saying why. So, hey, let's say you're giving a suggestion about how to drive a car. The person you're talking to is learning how to use a car or drive a car. The first suggestion you give is make sure to follow all the road signs. And that's simple. In real life, that is common sense, so you don't have to explain that more. But in CELPIP, you have to. Your English is being tested. You have to expand on this, give a range, and answer why does you need to look at road signs. It's obvious, but even the obvious things need to be explained. Plus, you have a timer in speaking, and you have a word limit in writing. You have to fill in those time slots and word limits. So I'm going to say you got to look at the road signs because they indicate important rules about the speed limits, as well as where you can turn, where you cannot. If you don't follow them, you're going to get fined and ticketed, which could be a drastic amount. In fact, I got fined last month, so I know exactly what that means. And you can even say that. You could also relate with your experiences because it has to be realistic. You could also go on and continue and say sometimes there are lane closures ahead or icy conditions, and road signs indicate that. If you look at that, you can maneuver your driving easily, which will make for a safer journey. So again, you can expand on that. Similarly, in task 6 is where you have to explain a difficult situation. So the situation is you cannot attend your daughter's birthday. You're calling your daughter to tell her about the situation. A lot of people just say, I'm sorry, I feel guilty, and that's a 1-minute speaking where they apologize to the daughter. You still have to explain to the daughter why you're not there, okay? So here's where your reasoning, your excuses, if you will come because, well, the boss said this, so I got loaded up with an urgent assignment, and so on and so on. The only places in writing and speaking where you do not have to worry about this is parts 3 and 4 of speaking, and in some cases part 8, if the situation is where you just have to define a picture without putting much context. So part 8 really varies time to time. But parts 3 and 4, you don't have to explain why too much because there you get a picture. Part 3, you define the picture. Part 4, you say what's going to happen next in the picture. So that's just a plain description. It's not going to be why people are doing something. You don't even know why they're doing that. It's not obvious from the picture. So mostly you define verbs there, actions of people doing different things, but any other place, make sure to focus on the why in task response for the best mark. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out our CELPIP course. You can see it in the description as well as a shop link right here with the video. It is the best course detailing all these aspects with 5 really challenging mock tests. Check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to comment.